Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
You're listening to Bloomberg Businessweek with Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio.
The China-focused business news site Caixin today reporting that, well, it was actually this week, yesterday, that China has unveiled draft rules to speed up certification of eVTOL aircraft. We're talking about electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. You haven't been on one yet?
Not yet.
Yeah, no, neither have I. The story goes on to note, though, the regulatory competition with the U.S., citing industry executives. For more, we're joined once again by Lisa Wright. She's founder and CEO of Landings. It's a company that says it's building a landing and ground operations network of vertiports for eVTOLs. She joins us here in the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers studio. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me back.
The regulatory landscape is a really important part of this. And I think last time you were on with us, you said that the first passenger carrying eVTOLs will happen in the Middle East. It won't happen here in the U.S. Is that still the case?
That is still the case. I mean, they are carrying passengers in China, but the Middle East will be next. And then the U.S. is coming pretty close behind.
Is it a disadvantage in terms of the regulatory environment here versus other countries?
No, the FAA has been working very hard. Actually, they've streamlined and done a lot of fast tracking and changed the training for pilots because there's going to be new pilot training, et cetera. So I don't think the regulations in the air has been an issue. It's just, in Dubai and the UAE, they were more excited about building the infrastructure first. So I'm very much about the infrastructure. So that's what we're trying to build.
Well, let's talk about that, because when we talk about electric vehicles, we just did a story this week about kind of how things are sliding backwards. And I think initially early on, Lisa, so much of it was the infrastructure wasn't there, the charging networks, and it created anxiety among the consumers. So talk to us about the infrastructure build out, where you guys are in this process, and what are some of the hurdles?
Yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of hurdles. Number one is energy. So getting access to energy is hard. We're not really competing with data centers, but data centers are looking for energy in areas that we're looking for energy as well. So what we're doing is we have two people on the team who are specifically looking at energy and getting the equipment financed and working with utilities, but also providing battery backup and energy systems in front of the meter in order to take up the slack for the charging. So charging is our number one issue, really. Finding land is great, we can do that, but getting the energy out, and to your point, there's a lot of attention being paid to EV networks right now that aren't necessarily succeeding.
Do you actually have to be connected to the grid in order to charge? Could you create a sort of self-contained off-the-grid landing area that uses renewable energy?
Absolutely. So we use about 1 or 2 megawatts of energy, and you can get that from 5 to 10 acres of solar.
Okay.
So there is a way that we can do with solar. We
and then store it.
Exactly, and store it with the battery,
it.
and then we can use it for the peak or the demand when they land and need it.
But you can't just rely on that alone, or can you?
We could do that. I mean, there's still a grid connection to most places.
Maybe in Arizona or,
yeah,
I don't know, parts of California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you see kind of this building out, and what's the cost involved? Like, how do you do it? Is it public-private partner? Like, how does it all get done?
Yeah, so the first network of 12 that we have in upstate New York is a mix of different use cases. So we have agriculture, we have entertainment and casino, we have existing airports. We also have some private, public-private partnerships going on with communities for like medical purposes and first responders. So there's a whole range of uses. Now, a lot of the vertiports that you see right now, they're very fancy. I call them Zaha Hadid buildings, right? Like they're amazing and futuristic, and they cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
We're going to build 2,000 of these, so we're going to not make them cost a lot of money. And how we're going to do that is because they're mini, they're very small, they're micro, they're about an acre and a half is the minimum space we need, and we're going to put so many of them out there. We're going to put 2,000. And not all of them will have charging. But by having such a dense network, we'll be able to guarantee landing spaces and charging within 30 minutes of any spot you are.
So I think about air traffic control in a situation such as this, and we spent a lot of time over the past few years talking about shortages of air traffic controllers. If we're sending more of vehicles into the air, there's more of a need for air traffic controllers. How does that factor into the estimate for how these things are going to be filling the skies.
Yeah, no, air traffic control is really overwhelmed right now with traditional flight. But because of the altitude that these craft fly in, it's a different altitude and it's a different wavelength for communications. So they do not have to use the existing air traffic control systems. There's a company, a nonprofit in Syracuse called New Air that is working on having all the demand for the airspace for heavy drones and eVTOLs. So it's going to be a completely different airspace.
Right. But you still have to have some coordination, don't you? Because eventually, even those that are flying much higher have to come down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when they are near airports or towered airports, they still have to communicate with the tower and air traffic control like normal. Mine, because my locations are mostly rural, very remote, they're not having the same conflict. They're in general airspace. But also, one of the reasons that we chose the Mohawk Valley, upstate New York, is because this company, New Air, has 1,000 miles of airspace that they're already working in. So there's drones and all kinds of different things flying there already.
The real estate agreements that you have in place, what do they look like?
So we do 2 different types of real estate agreements, but what we're pushing for right now is just options. So we're not leasing and we're not buying the property. We're getting an option. It's much like a cell tower. So in essence, we will take on then the feasibility studies, the engineering, the build. We'll finance the equipment for the owner. And once we're operating, then we'll share the revenue with them.
So it's been how much? A month or so since we've talked?
Yeah.
What's the biggest change in that time frame?
The biggest change in the last month, there's been 2, but one is that everybody stopped focusing on individual vertiports and started talking about the network, which is really key for especially eVTOLs.
Right.
Is you can't just go from 2 points. It gets a little boring, right? You have to have a lot of locations.
I need one that goes from
Home in Brooklyn?
731 Lexington Avenue, okay, in Midtown Manhattan, to, just South Brooklyn a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I
mean, what do you envision that, like, we just got, 15 seconds. What's the view, you think? I don't know, is it 5 years, 10 years? What's the vision?
5 years from now, I believe everybody would have at least tried one.
Wow. Okay.
That's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
So first Waymo.
Sooner than I thought.
And then this.
Yeah, this has people.
This has people. Feel a little bit better?
Yeah, I do.
Close my eyes and a Waymo. Just
Lisa
gonna say.
Wright, founder and CEO of Landings, joining us here in the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers studio.